and welcome to the Empowered Woman Web Show. I'm your host, Casey Lightbody, and on today's show, I have Jaime Tardy. Now, ever since she was little, Jaime wanted to be a millionaire. After finding herself $70,000 in debt and hating her job, she knew something had to change. Within 16 months, she paid off that $70,000 and quit her job. She's now escaped the daily 9 to 5 and actually only works 20 hours a week in a business that she loves. She produces an extremely popular blog and podcast over at eventualmillionaire.com, where she interviews millionaire business owners each week. She's interviewed over 80 millionaires, including the likes of Guy Kawasaki, Ryan Lee, Seth Godin, and Tim Ferriss, to get their advice, action tips, and stories on how to be successful. She's also extremely successful in her own right, having been on CNN, MSN Money, Fortune.com, and actually on Yahoo's homepage twice. Welcome to the show, Jaime.
Thanks for having me, Casey.
So can you just tell us a little bit more about you, Jaime, and specifically what you're actually working on at the moment? Because I know you've got quite a bit going on. We'd love to hear what's happening.
Good question. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff going on. And it's funny, you say I work 20 hours a week. Now I'm starting to go, okay, now I work 25 to 30 hours a week. So I can't really say 20 anymore because things are going a little bit insane, and I would work more if I could. But yeah, I'm working on a lot of different stuff, mostly the book. I mean, the book is taking up quite a bit of time. That's actually the manuscript's not due until August, thankfully. So I have a little bit more time. But yeah, so that's sort of big on the front burner. And I'm working on quite a few different things, a digital magazine, a mentoring group, a podcasting product, actually a whole bunch of really cool stuff. Yes, fantastic. A lot, way too much on my plate.
Just talking about the eventual millionaire, where did that idea actually come from, and what does eventual millionaire actually mean?
All right, so I'll start with what it means first, and then we'll talk about what it came from. So I call an eventual millionaire as someone who has the goal to be a millionaire, but it's eventually, right? Because what we want to do is we want to have an enjoyable life and enjoyable business. And one of the reasons why it came about is I created the domain name years and years ago when I was stuck in $70,000 in debt and hated my job. And so I was like, this is a great domain name. Eventually, I want to be a millionaire and I want to enjoy life. And so it's funny, since I was 8, I wanted to be a millionaire. I don't know why. I told my parents when I was younger that I wanted to be a millionaire, and my mom told me to marry a rich man. And I love that. I know, and that's not the way I wanted it to go. So it's funny, that's sort of how I set it up, like go to college, get a good job, that sort of thing. But having that realization when I created that domain name of going, I do want to be a millionaire. That's my goal, but I can't do this anymore. So it's eventual millionaire instead of, all about the money. And so that's sort of what the whole site is about. We definitely talk about business and growing your business, but it's all about like actually enjoying what you do. I mean, I'm really passionate about business. The people that I'm interviewing are extremely passionate about business, and I think that's really important.
It's so important, isn't it? It's so important to enjoy what you're doing. That's kind of key, isn't it? Yeah, I agree. Now, you've interviewed so many millionaires that you must have an amazing insight into what actually makes them successful. So what do you think are the key kind of common traits that they all share to be able to be so fantastic, to be so great, and to achieve their goals?
I get this question a lot. It's funny, I've actually interviewed, as of today, 97 different millionaires.
Oh, wow.
I know, I'm really close to my 100th. Trying to have someone really cool for my 100th. But I think it's funny, I get asked this question all the time, right? Like, what's the secret sauce? Tell me that one thing that I can change and it'll make me a millionaire. And of course, there's not one thing, but there is one thing that I can tell you that, like, looking through all the transcripts, and I mean, I have thousands of pages of transcripts, which is awesome. But the thing that sort of keeps coming back over and over and over again, even from the first 10, first 15, and now definitely between that, is that they have a no excuses approach. So that's what I call it, the no excuses approach. And it's not as though like they don't have excuses, because they do. And I mean, I have excuses. I'm sure you have excuses too. Nobody's immune to excuses, unfortunately. I wish we were. But really sort of recognizing that you have them and then getting past them, like pushing past anyway. Things like, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough whatever. Those are all excuses, and we don't recognize them for what they are.
Good
excuses.
point.
And
Yep,
so,
yep,
and
yep.
that's, things come up all the time for some of the millionaires too. Just like they're just people. They make spelling mistakes and stuff like that too. And so, but they're really, really good at moving past anyway and taking that action, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's scary, even if they're not exactly sure, but really recognizing what's an excuse and what's not and pushing past.
Just pushing past it. Yep, yep. That's a great point. And that actually leads me on to, they're juggling so many things. They're typically running, probably more than one business. They've got so much on their plate, but they also actually only have 24 hours in the day, just like you and me, we've all only got 24 hours a day. So how do you think that they manage their time so efficiently as well? Do you think it's because they just push past, or what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so this is a big topic. So there's two things I think that's really important to sort of say about that. One is, especially for the people that are serial entrepreneurs, like they suggest to start with one business, right? Like only start with one business and get good at that business. And then you can add more, because a lot of the times, and we think that this is a good idea at the very beginning, you're sort of going along and you have all these ideas and you're like, I'm going to do that and that and that, and we're going to see which one hits. And that's really not the way that it should be. We should pick a business that we really focus on, we really try and grow. And then as we become successful in that one, we can take all that knowledge and skill and then maybe do another one after. And so that I just want to say, because I think we all go, oh, they're serial entrepreneurs, they're doing so many amazing things. But their advice to everybody is don't do that. Don't try and do too many businesses at once. So that's one.
Yeah.
But second, because my story. I have small children, and I'm like, I want to have a really amazing business and not work too much. I love working, don't get me wrong. And so one of the questions I ask is, do you have to work 70, 80 hours a week to have an amazing business? And some people, like Andrew Derbyshire, he's actually from Australia too. I met him when he came to Maine. Actually, he has an office in Maine. And he was like, yeah, you pretty much have to work that much. Like, I can't imagine not working that much. I wouldn't be able to be where I was. And I was like, oh, no. No, I don't want to hear that.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. But then you hear other people like Tim Ferriss, who's like, 4-hour work week. Now, I know he doesn't work 4 hours. I know that for a fact, especially when he's launching stuff. But I think what's important is really trying to make sure that you're doing the most critical things. Like now, when I work, I have to make sure that I'm only doing the important things, that work that's going to move me forward.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. I said, you're obviously also doing some amazing things in your business. And you said, obviously, I kind of introduced you that you're only working 20 hours a week, and maybe it's pushing it to 25 or 30 these days.
I know. It's the book.
But how do you do that? How do you focus on what's important to really get that momentum and spend time doing the things that are going to grow your business and, help you achieve the next thing that you want to achieve in your business? How do you kind of identify what the key drivers are, key business drivers, I guess, in your business are, and that you're not wasting time? Like I feel like, a lot of business owners kind of just spend, they hop onto social media and before they know it, there's an hour gone, so it's very easy to get distracted with all that's out there as well. So kind of how do you focus? What do you do?
So there's two more things with this, right? So I look long term. So like even just the other day, I was going through and figuring out like my timeline for the rest of the year. So I try not to take on too many projects at once. I know it sounds like I have a bunch, but they're like, April, I'm doing this, May, I'm doing this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I can't take on too much, otherwise I won't get anything done. So that's one thing that I'm definitely working on. And then the other thing though, and this, when I very first started, this is something I learned from my mentor in reading books. Actually, there's a great book called Eat That Frog. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's by Brian Tracy.
Yes. I actually read an article.
Yeah, and it's great. And what it pretty much says in a nutshell is whatever the ugliest frog is, whatever that worst task is that you're uncomfortable, that's probably the one that's going to make the most impact on your business. Do that first. And so that's sort of how I organize stuff, because I have my to-do list on my phone, just like everybody has a to-do list. But I really can only pay attention to the stuff that's critical, like really critical, especially when it's times when the kids are at preschool. Then I can do the stuff that matters, the interviews, the sales calls, the talking with my clients, that sort of stuff. Really important stuff that has to happen in order of revenue to come to my business. And it's funny, I just did an interview with someone, and he gave great advice. And what he pretty much said is knowing what you're really good at and knowing what your strengths are and trying to use that in what you're doing for your to-do list. Those, like, look at the number one thing that's going to bring, that you're really good at, that's going to bring in money. Because it's sort of, you know, we're really good at doing the other stuff or the fun stuff.
That's
or
right.
anything like that. But whatever that strength is around how you bring revenue into your business, that usually should be number one. And then it goes, it goes from there. And see, of course, the stuff that doesn't make you any money, even if it's social media, even if it's fun, you should be delegating that to other people. So I have a full-time assistant, and I give her tons of stuff. So even though I'm not working full-time, she definitely is for me. And I have a video guy and a bunch of other people. So delegation is also probably.
Okay, so delegation is a great point too. And so where would you go in terms of, at what point do you hit that critical kind of point where you do take on someone? Because a lot of women entrepreneurs that I'm talking to are kind of solo entrepreneurs. They're working for themselves. And so when do you get to that stage that you kind of identify that you do actually need someone to kind of help you in the business?
Yeah, I had a hard time with this. My mentor was like, you should do it sooner than you're comfortable with. That's what he told me. I was like, okay. Oh, great. Because it's going to free you up. So the first person that I actually had was my video. He was just an audio guy at the time because I wasn't doing video interviews. And every single week I was doing this, and I knew my time could be better spent doing something else. Like every single week, this is something. And so I just had him as a contractor. And so he only did part-time, like barely, a couple hours a week, maybe, just doing the interviews. So that way I could have time not to. And that made all the difference in the world. And I really learned, delegating just that little piece made a big difference.
Made a big difference. Yeah.
So again, I was going to say he's from the Philippines, so he didn't even cost very much either. And I adore him. He's been with me for almost 3 years now. So it really makes a difference being able to, we're lucky to be able to work with people all over the world.
That's right.
You don't have to commit to like an employee or anything like that. We have so many resources at our fingertips just to hire contractors, which I think is really important.
That's a great point. And I guess identifying where your strengths are again and knowing that that isn't probably a strength and you can just get rid of it and hand it over. That's a great point. So, Jaime, in terms of your typical day, can you walk me through kind of a typical day for you?
I can. I should look at my calendar for tomorrow. Next week's school vacation, so I should go over that. That's not so good. Usually my day starts around 9 o'clock in the morning after the kids are all dropped off and at school, and it usually ends up either being I try and organize each day like today or the other one day a month, like where I do all my interviews. So because you have to sort of get dressed, and actually it's funny because I have shirts over here. I did a bunch of interviews, so I have different shirts to put on because I don't want it to look like it's the same thing.
That's a great point.
I know, so
I love it.
So silly. But yeah, so it depends on what the day is. Like it could be a coaching client day. So I try and get as many coaching clients in. Like tomorrow I have quite a few coaching clients. But it really depends on what sort of day it is. But I'll have my meeting scheduled, and otherwise I try and do email the night before if I can. Because email can just be my email inbox explodes constantly, and thankfully I have my assistant doing some of it, but it's ridiculous. So trying to have the day planned out the day before of what I'm going to be doing. So if you look in my phone right now, you can see the things already on my to-do list for tomorrow. And so I know I have coaching clients tomorrow, but I also in between know what else I have to get done. Just like 3 things, because it's pretty booked. So like 3 things. That's pretty much it.
I love that, and I love that chunking things together, because I guess you get in the mode, like you say, it's either interview mode or it's coaching mode, and then you can just kind of, I guess, be much more productive because you're kind of chunking everything together.
Yes. Well, because tomorrow it's coaching day, but I have a millionaire interview with Bob Berg from The Go-Giver, who I love, but that was the only time you could do it. Now I have to switch from coaching hat to interview hat back to coaching hat, and I'll work it out, but it but it definitely makes a difference, to be able to move it around.
So in terms of, obviously there's so many tools and apps and all that kind of stuff out there for productivity, time management, efficiency. What have you got, any favorites, any online tools and apps that you use to kind of manage your time, manage your productivity? Do you have any kind of project management tools?
I have the apps that I use. I don't have that any project management. Well, I use Podio, Podio, Podio. I don't even know how you say it. I just started using that. I used to use Basecamp beforehand.
Yeah.
So I used that with my the people that work with me.
Yep.
And that definitely helps. But I actually have just a to-do list on I'm looking at my phone right now trying to find out like all my cool apps that I use. So I have that one. I love Google Docs. Like we use Google Docs all the time. Of course, these are normal ones that everybody uses. The one that I would say that I love, which not that many people know of, is called Sleep Cycle. Has nothing to do with like during work, but it wakes you up at the optimal time at when you're.
Oh, wow.
And so that one really helps. Yeah, because sometimes you get woken up by my kids, but but otherwise, being able to wake up, it just sort of gives you a better outlook when you wake up at a good
the right time.
And
I like that.
I love that one. Definitely.
That's cool. And that's another thing, I guess. You kind of have to identify. Obviously, as mums, you and I, we're kind of in the same boat. We're not, we can't kind of pick and choose the times that we work because we're kind of really working around the kids. But are you a morning person more or a night person? Like I get up really early. I wake up really early, and so I get to do a chunk of work before the kids even wake up. In the morning, and that's when I'm most productive. Is kind of first thing in the morning. So
I'm not.
do you?
No, I'm not a morning person. I am a night person. And you know what? Not that I wake up. I think I probably wake up at like 6:30, mostly because of the kids. Though you have to get them ready. The thing that I learned once I had kids, though, is I tried to wake up early, and like if I would tiptoe past their rooms, like they would wake up. And so it was never worth it. Like I'd try and do yoga, schedule like, okay, I'm going to do yoga in the morning. I'm going to go do that before the kids wake up. It'll be great. And as soon as they hear me, they're up and I'm like, well, that didn't work out so well, did it? So I'm usually up until probably about midnight. At night, I'm usually more of sometimes 1 a.m. Yeah, I'm more of a night owl.
You've managed to achieve some amazing things, connecting with kind of the top people in the industry. Have you got any tips on or share your kind of experiences on how you kind of did that?
I remember being sort of having this epiphany of going, if you're supposed to be the sum of the 5 closest people, I don't have anyone that's really an entrepreneur. Now, my husband is a performer, and we have people, I'm really lucky that we have people somewhat locally that do stuff like that. Like my friends are the Diet Coke and Mentos guys online who created this viral video. They have 50 million views online. I know, right? They live in Buckfield, Maine, which is about 10 minutes from me.
Love it.
I know, right? But I mean, that's pretty much it. It's me and them. Right here, and that's it. So I made a conscious choice to go, okay, I really need to figure out how to make this better. Like I think that's really important for me to upgrade and really be around like-minded people, because a lot of people aren't like that around here. And so the very first thing I did was create a mastermind group. And so I tried to get, the whole point of a mastermind group is getting like-minded people and having that synergy. And I ended up actually contacting people that I didn't know at all online who were huge and way bigger than me. I didn't even have a blog. I think the blog was like a month old when I started that. And I had amazing people now that have like ridiculous audiences. And they ended up saying yes. And that was a piece of it. So there was 5 of us. We've met every week for 3 years. About 3 years now. And so, and it's been an amazing experience, and I'm so close with all of them. And so that's like the very first step that I took. And then it was just sort of going to conferences and meeting people and then asking people. And it was really a conscious effort of trying to meet as many people as I could. And I'm amazed at my network now. Like 3 years, it's insane. It's insane what you can do. Definitely.
So you definitely recommend kind of getting out as much as possible and networking and, as you say, conferences. And
I didn't even go to that many. I think the first year I went to 1, and the second year I went to like 3. Maybe.
Okay.
So it's not as though I went to a ton of them, but when you start going, you really want to start going with the air of making friends. And so I have a lot of friends, they're business, co-workers, I guess. I don't know what you call them there, but they're friends, and I want to hang out with them whether or not we're working. And so I think that was definitely a big key.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. Now, also the audiences, typically either just starting out in their businesses online or they've already started. You ran a webinar recently on the 5 deadly mistakes startup businesses make. And so obviously many of our audience can kind of, I'm sure, resonate with that. Can you share what those mistakes are again?
Good question. Oh no, I'm quizzed. I would suggest everybody listening to it because it's late at night and I probably won't remember them correctly.
Well,
cool. What I did was I went through the millionaire interviews and I found out what the most common mistakes were of everybody that had gone through it. So it was really interesting. See, I love the data and I love going back and finding out like what worked and what didn't work. And so that's what the accumulation of for the webinar was. And you can actually, if you go to millionairestart.com, that actually has the whole webinar up right there. So you can just watch it for free.
Well, I listened to it. It was fantastic. You had some great tips. It was really, really good. So
Thanks.
I'll definitely put the link in the show notes. So if you were to start again, what would you do differently?
Ooh. I don't know. You know what? I think one thing that I think would be really interesting is knowing what I know now. I don't know if I'd change that much as far as the progress that I did and what I did, specifically like the action steps. But it's funny because I've been asked this question before, and one of the things that always comes up, like I totally would have started my mastermind group, like still, like that's exactly what I did. I probably would have started my podcast sooner. And I would have, I think I just would have been a lot more confident. Like if I knew this stuff, I would have been a lot more confident. I was very timid of going like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is a good idea, you know, and sort of, especially when I first started with the interviews. I mean, I was telling you before, like my first interview was horrible. And, and knowing that like it would have gotten better. And I thought I was only going to be able to do maybe one a month. Maybe at first. I didn't go into it with this air of excellence that I really try and do a lot more now, and I really try and instill that in the people that I'm working with is, you know what, we are really good and you really need to just sort of own that as you go ahead and do it. And I didn't at the beginning, so that probably would have been a big piece.
So I can hear you on that one. Definitely empathize. I can empathize with that one. So now we're kind of coming to the end of time, but I just wanted to ask you, I know you're really into karate. That's one of your interests. And I love that you have such an awesome balance of your family and your work and your home. So what other things that you do that are fun? What else do you do for fun?
I just did yoga. I just started with I try and do yoga as much as I can, but it's not, I'm living Turner, so you know what I mean? It's hard to get, but there's actually a new yoga studio not that far from here, so I'm going to be signing up.
Oh, awesome.
So that'll be fun. I know, so that'll be really cool. But I mean, I was just telling the kids, like it's freezing here all the time because I live in Maine. But when it's not freezing, we love going hiking and stuff like that. We were just chatting. We always do picnics, or we have a huge back deck, and we always do picnics on the back deck. And stuff
fantastic!
Like that. So we do a lot of cool
well, you did post a beautiful photo. It is a beautiful photo. I think on your Facebook page. It does look cold, but it's beautiful.
That was, if you look at that again, it's funny. It looks like it's a lake, but it's all frozen over. Like it's barely melting just now. We went outside today without our coats. It was great.
Oh, awesome. So spring is in the air. Jaime, and I guess it's also my audience, they really are reaching for their dreams, you know, reaching for the stars. That's why it's called the Empowered Women Entrepreneur Association, is they really want to change the world. And if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be and how would you go about it?
Okay. That's funny. The first thing that comes up to me, I love a charity called Charity Water. And actually, a lot of my book proceeds are going to that. And just in general, like we go to a kid's birthday party, and instead of getting them a gift, we give them charity water, which the kids don't really care about, but they have enough toys, so it's fine. They like throw the piece of paper. They don't care. But it's really about, you know, trying to get everybody in the world clean water, because I can't imagine. My son, who's 6 now, gave up his birthday for charity water for most, like when the kids came. I know, I'm a proud mom, because the kids who came, we told them not to bring any presents and to just do charity water. And he I think he raised $300, and so he was all excited, and he goes, I just don't want, you know, kids my age to have to drink water that cows poop in, Mom. I'm like, yeah, me neither. So that's something that's very close to me. I mean, I'd love to have people have that, definitely.
That's amazing. Well, I grew up in Africa and seen firsthand what it's like. So it would definitely, I mean, every little bit counts for sure, and it would
Same.
just make the hugest difference to them.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny
It's
because I
amazing.
mean, not that we're talking about this, but charity
Mm,
water. The reason why we do it is $20 will give someone water for life. And so you're like, if you can spend $20 on a kid's birthday party, and every single time we're invited to a lot of children's birthday parties. I have two this weekend. so so the more you do, you kind of go every single time you go to a birthday party, someone else is getting water. I think that's awesome. So
Love it, love it. That's fantastic. Now, I'm going to ask this of all my guests. What is the one thing that women entrepreneurs need to do each day to manage their overwhelm and to move forward in their businesses? What's the one
ooh.
thing that they should do?
Okay, so I just did a speech actually at the Maine Women's Network yesterday, which is
Oh,
kind of funny.
cool.
Yeah, and I was really highlighting this piece because I talk about the millionaire routine and like what you want to be doing every day. It's kind of funny you asked this
Mm,
question. Um, and one of the things that I like to highlight is Richard Branson. I don't know if you've heard this before, but Richard Branson was asked what his number one productivity tip was, and he
mhm.
said to work out. And
Wow.
you're like, oh,
Interesting.
that's not what I was expecting. You're
Yeah.
like, oh no, now I have to work out. But that's what I would say a thousand times over. To me, and especially the food that you put in your body, I know I'm a sugar addict. I'll completely admit it. And when I eat sugar, I have a worse day. And then when I don't, and I eat really clean food, I have a much better, more productive. My head is better. And I think that's
Sure.
one thing that we get stuck in overwhelm, especially with the kids and with the work and all the craziness. If you're in not a good headspace, you're not going to be productive.
Productive.
Being
I
able to,
100% agree.
yeah, being able to set yourself up, really having, a workout schedule. It doesn't have to be every single day, but really having a body and a mind that is whole and good. And I know sugar does it to me. It might not do it to you, but I know if I'm like that, it's not as good of a headspace. And so I can't be as
Absolutely.
productive. So I'd say that'd be number one.
I love that. I love that. I actually schedule time in my diary for myself, to make sure that I kind of get it done. So it's so important. I 100% agree with that. Jamie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely fabulous. I've loved every moment of chatting to you, and I'm sure the audience is going to have fantastic insights into all your areas of expertise and what we've chatted about today. So thanks
Thanks for
again. It's
having me,
been
Casey.
fabulous.